Well, hello. Welcome to this 1 month anniversary episode of the Sport Fanatics podcast. J-Mike actually brought that to my attention last night, so...
Sure did.
Yeah.
Sure did. I came across that on our Spotify.
On the Spotify page.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
you saw.
the Spotify form of where our podcast is on, so... In which I always share us on Spotify anyway,
Right.
but anyway, I was scrolling down yesterday because I was telling somebody about the podcast and where they could tune in to listen to us, and it just so happened that 1 month ago we started our very first episode of the Sport Fanatic podcast.
So how coincidental that it's worked out that now episode 9 on July 16th, 2021 marks the 1 month anniversary. Today we'll talk about the Bucks winning that just incredible Game 4 to tie up the series and mention the MLB All-Star game and maybe a few other little stories around the MLB. But for now, here's the theme.
Happy anniversary!
Okay, well, I'm excited to start off with this NBA game. The Suns and Bucks, Game 4, the NBA Finals. Bucks pulled off just a gritty win.
Best game of the series by far, Chris.
Oh, definitely. 109 to 103. Honestly, that score doesn't even iterate just how close
Right.
this game was going down that last stretch. I remember I said on Monday that I thought that this might be about a double-digit win for the Bucks. That was definitely wrong, but the Bucks did win.
Yeah, they're just right now they're unbeatable on home court just about with that one loss coming to the, let's see, I believe it was the Hawks last series.
I believe
or the
so.
or the Nets.
I'll double check real
But
quick.
I believe it was the Hawks. So now, Chris, they are 9-1 in Milwaukee during these NBA playoffs,
Yeah, that's just
or this NBA playoff run, I should say, that they've.
and that loss was to Hawks to the
Okay,
Hawks. It was 116 to 113, so really close.
Yes.
But that was the one loss.
So yeah, they pull that one out. They're looking like the 2007 New York Giants that won 10 straight road games.
Yeah.
Except Milwaukee would have won 10 straight home games. But
Yeah.
that's still just an incredible feat that those 2007 New York Giants won 10 straight on the road.
Yeah, that was an incredible streak, and this streak that the Bucks have going, this performance at home is just about equally as incredible. I want to talk about those last few minutes real quick and then get into the stats a bit, but that was just the end of that game. It was anybody's game, and then Giannis has that just such a clutch play when he blocked that shot.
Yeah, Devin Booker tried to alley-oop it to Ayton, and Giannis read it beautifully.
Yeah, and that was a huge turnaround. And then
that block also had you reminiscing of LeBron's block on Iguodala in the 2016 Game 7 NBA final between the Golden State Warriors and the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Yeah, that's a good point. Definitely makes you think of that. And then fast forward a bit, game got sealed with that steal by Holiday, and then not quite an open court, but they ran down and gave it to Middleton, and he got that clutch shot to really seal the deal for the Bucks, and that just stuck in my mind because the game was so close and anybody's at that moment until those two plays happened, and that just really shows the Bucks' ability to make the plays at home to win these games.
Something they desperately needed to do when once upon a time they were down 0-2 in this series.
Yeah.
And as we've stated before, hey, look, don't be surprised if Milwaukee gets back in the thick of things, tying this series up after Game 4. That's exactly what they did the other night. So
yeah, the Suns weren't able to steal one of these games.
The momentum and the favoritism has now switched to Milwaukee. Big time.
Yeah, huge momentum for them. It's just, as I said Monday, it's like now the Suns go home with their heels dragging a bit here. They've got to settle themselves and try to get back in the groove.
They do, and in this series, we know without a shadow of a doubt that the home team has won each game. So, yes, the Suns should be favored in Game 5, but I just don't like what I'm seeing from a couple of guys on the Suns, knowing that they have to give it everything they have.
Yeah. Because
of, as we've touched on, lack of depth on their bench right now.
Well, and for them last night, I mean, Booker had an amazing performance, or the night before last. Booker had a great performance.
Oh yeah, and he now has the most points scored by a player in his first NBA postseason.
Oh wow! So that's interesting. Yeah, I didn't know. He's come on strong, and especially in Game 4. It's just that he had just about no help. I mean, 10 points from Chris Paul.
Yeah, 10 points, 7 assists, and 5 turnovers. He now has 15 turnovers in the last 3 games.
Yeah, those turnovers are killer.
And especially the one that you just touched on here recently, Chris, with the Drew Holiday steal.
Yeah.
Another Chris Paul turnover. That was absolutely huge within the final minute or so in that tight game the other night.
Yeah, because I mean
that cannot happen.
Right,
that cannot happen.
That's a moment where, as I said earlier, the game can swing either way, and a steal then is just so detrimental.
And I hate to say it, Chris, but we're starting to see the old Chris Paul from the Los Angeles Clipper days all of a sudden, which is not good. Not good here. Especially when he's just 2 games away from winning his first NBA championship. Now, I know he doesn't have other guys stepping up for him as well, as, for instance, Mikal Bridges. He did not have a performance like he did in Game 2.
Right.
And from guys like Bridges and Crowder really need to step it up.
Well, and that's true. I mean, obviously that would help a lot. But the thing is, when he does have some help, like he did from Booker last night, or again the night before last, with that incredible game, 42 points, you can't turn it over like that. Like if he had just had an average game, they probably win that.
Just like exactly, Chris. Just like we said in Game 3, if Booker, who only had a 10-point game as well, I do believe, in Game 3, if he scores a lot more, that game is a lot more interesting down the stretch.
Right.
To where the Suns might have pulled that out, then they're up 3-0 quite possibly. And, you know, if they have a setback, which would have been in Game 4, they're still okay because they're going back to Phoenix with a 3-1 lead with a great opportunity to get it done.
Yeah, it's almost like they're out of sync. They can't perform at the same time. Booker was great in Game 4, and Paul had a great Game 3. It's just not the same time.
And not consistent.
Right.
Not consistent. When they have to be consistent to beat this Milwaukee Bucks team. We all know this.
Oh, yeah, because on the other side, you have like Giannis had a very average game. I mean, it was a good game, but pretty average. And he got a great performance from Middleton with those 40 points and also 4 assists. I mean, that was a great performance. Maybe not quite as astounding as Booker, but right neck and neck with him. And then add to that Giannis playing a good average game where he did also have 8 assists,
which is what he needs to be if Middleton is playing lights out like he did the other night.
Well, and they did,
or Holiday, and you also throw in Brook Lopez, Bobby Portis, PJ Tucker, those guys.
Well, and that's basically those two did what the Suns needed Chris Paul to do.
Yes.
Like I was just talking about, Giannis had that good, decent game to complement the just lights out performance that Middleton was having.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and right now guys are picking up each other on the Bucks squad, not so much on the Suns all of a sudden. But I will say what I have liked about this year's NBA Finals is the schedule. It gives players enough time to regroup, get themselves in fairly good shape heading into the following game.
Well, and that's got to be helping the Suns with as thin as they are the fact they can recoup.
Yeah, I know they definitely they definitely need it and appreciate it, but still, if Booker is on his game, Chris Paul has got to step it up, and vice versa.
Well, and
because there's nobody right now coming off the bench for the Suns that's going to give you production that way. It sucks, I know, but they've got to rely way too heavily on their starters, and it's something that's not. Sometimes it's not a good recipe, especially in a championship series like this. But when everything's on the line, when a championship is at stake, if those guys want it bad enough, they're going to step it up and do whatever they have to do to win a championship. And the Suns have not done that in these past 2 games. The Bucks are now looking like the team that wants it more.
Yeah, now they're the cohesive unit that was their MO before, like in the last series, was how well they were playing as that unit. And it's continuing. We're seeing it again after these home games.
And we noticed how that came together for them during the Brooklyn Nets series, where they were down 3-2 and won 2 in a row to win that series in 7 on the road.
Mm-hmm.
Then they play a very good young Atlanta Hawks squad that it looked like Milwaukee had that series wrapped up, and Atlanta just has that great Game 4 from the field shooting wise. But the Bucks once again win 2 straight to win that series. Now in this series they fall behind 2 games, but they win 2 in a row to tie up the series. So now you're in a best of 3, and we know that these 3 series they have won 2 games in a row, and they have won a Game 7 on the road.
Oh yeah, that's true. They have that history.
So that's why. Yeah, I mean, yes, the Suns should be favored in Game 5, but for the rest of this series, the Milwaukee Bucks are the ones that are favored, in my honest opinion.
Well, and here's the interesting thing, sort of to add another twist to that. For much of that game, Phoenix looked like the better team. Or they looked like they were having the better game. I'm not going to say they were the better team because they were having such a lights-out performance from Booker alone. But they looked like, I mean, they had the lead for a great portion there thanks to him. So it looked like even though maybe they weren't the better team, they were in a good position, I'll put it that way,
no doubt.
To rely on Booker to get that win for him.
No doubt.
And to
defensive
sort of
plays by the Milwaukee Bucks. And I have stated this before, Chris, that Milwaukee is good on both ends of the floor. Used defense to win that Game 4.
Yeah, well, and feeding into that, the Suns actually shot well. Like, if you look at this on paper just percentage-wise, you would think that the Suns probably won because they shot 51.3% versus the Bucks 40.2%. But, of course, the difference is, and they were even better with three-point and free throw shooting, but the difference is the Bucks had so many more opportunities for shots. Like, the Bucks had 97 shots, the Suns had 78.
Turnovers.
Yes, turnovers.
As we touched on.
Yeah, and the Bucks defense, even though they maybe they could have contested more shots, especially from Booker, they got those turnovers just when they needed them. It was so huge.
And also they don't have another guy behind Ayton to slow down those hog mollies, as I like to call them, in the paint. So Milwaukee's getting to the line a very, very good bit here in this series, especially Giannis Antetokounmpo.
They had 10 more free throw tries than the Suns,
and they won by 6.
Yeah, and they shot well too from the free throw line. They were 24 for 29. So,
and of course,
huge.
Of course, the game was tied at 99. Bucks took that 2-point lead, and then that's whenever the defense for the Bucks rose to the occasion.
Oh yeah, both.
And got it done to tie this series up. Now you're in a best of 3. We all know that defense wins you championships. So Bucks keep making these huge defensive plays down the stretches of these remaining 3, because you and I both probably agree that this is going 7.
Yeah.
The way that this has gone so far, this is definitely going 7, because Milwaukee has only lost once at home. They'll get a Game 6 back in Milwaukee. Phoenix plays lights out at home as well. They could very easily find a way to win Game 5 if it's tight. But if the Bucks' defensive strategy keeps doing what they did in Game 4 alone, and they're also doing a fairly good job of scoring from the field and keeping up with the Suns if they're having a pretty good shooting night, then Milwaukee is your NBA champion at the end of this thing.
Well, and that's the nice thing about having a good defense like that.
Those were some huge stops, Chris.
Right,
no doubt.
As Game 4 proved, all you've got to do is sort of keep yourself within range there.
Yeah.
And then, have a couple of great defensive plays, and all of a sudden the game's yours. You've got all the momentum in the game.
You do. You sure do. But I've said it before, and I'll say it again. When those guys are clicking together for the Milwaukee Bucks squad, the Suns have to have a good night shooting just to keep up with them. And they did that, but Milwaukee was able to get those big defensive stops, take Game 4, and if this thing continues with Milwaukee, they're going to be NBA champions. There's no doubt in my mind. Mm-hmm. But you want to see Chris Paul step it up, and I'll say one more thing before we wrap up this Game 4 summary. The Game 5 winner, Chris, wins the NBA title 72% of the time.
Oh, wow, okay.
The last team to lose Game 5 of the NBA Finals, when the series was tied 2-2, and win the NBA championship, were those 2013 Miami Heat that we talked about here recently. Okay. So we might be having some deja vu. I certainly would like it, because that NBA Finals was incredible.
Yeah, that was
especially that game six. That Game 6 was an incredible finish.
Yeah,
there. So,
well, and it's kind of. I mean, obviously, I agree with you. This is going to go 7 games, but we called that before the series started. We thought that this would likely go 7 games, and I'm feeling even better about that now.
Oh, yeah. So we shall see if the Suns return to their home court dominance in Game 5. That will be tomorrow night, 8 o'clock on ABC.
So we talked about it Tuesday. All-Star game was Tuesday night. The American League ended up winning 5-2 over the National League.
A common occurrence.
Yeah, it's 8 years in a row now.
That is correct.
And
dominating the All-Star game, the American League has. I just sounded like Yoda there.
Yeah. And they've won. I mean, they've been on a tear really since the late 80s.
Oh yeah. I remember in the early 2000s they had that stretch there for a while. And then the National League finally won it, and now the American League has started a new winning streak here.
Which those streaks are interesting, because there's been like 3 main streaks, kind of. Like the American League dominated at the beginning up until the 50s, basically. And then in the 60s and 70s, the National League just won almost every year. They started their own streak to the point where they had, let me look here real quick. The National League in 1987 had an advantage of 37 wins to 20 losses in the All-Star game. That's how much of a streak they went on in the 60s and 70s and early 80s. But now with the win this week, the American League has a 46-43 to 2 advantage. So it's just like these crazy streaks.
They have roared all the way back, and it's definitely been a trend of streaks for sure.
And I'm not sure why that happens. Like I don't know why one league will suddenly perform so much better. And of course, it's just one game every year, and they had two in the 60s for a while.
I predicted the American League winning Tuesday night.
We just felt like that lineup was better,
and it was. It sure was, as Vladimir Guerrero Jr. became the youngest All-Star Game MVP ever.
That was and he had that home run was a
no
moonshot.
Yeah. No, I mean, he absolutely tattooed that one. Shohei Ohtani was the winning pitcher, and he joined Hideo Nomo back in 1995 as the only Japanese-born pitchers to start the All-Star game.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you thought it would have been more than that, honestly, but okay.
And then, so Ohtani was your winning pitcher. The save went to Liam Hendricks. I called that one.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, the White Sox pitcher went out and
got the job
save.
done, and
would have never known that Chapman was there.
Oh yeah,
he just got to chill.
Yep. And so how about this international success in baseball, where the winning pitcher is Japanese, the closer gets the save, he's from Australia, and your MVP is from the Dominican Republic. So this game has, it's always been global, but it's nice to see on a big stage like that where international players are really putting on a show.
Yeah, there's a lot of good international representation in the MLB these days.
No doubt.
And it's hard for me to decide. I don't know who has the better international representation between baseball and basketball. They're both pretty close, and what I mean is they're also popular overseas. Like, basketball is really popular in other countries, but baseball is too, of course. I mean, I think the Japanese baseball league is probably one of the best international leagues of an American sport.
Yes.
Traditionally American sport that I can think of, like even more so than most international basketball leagues or anything. That Japanese baseball league is special. The Nippon League, I think it's called. I guess that's how I don't know how you say it properly.
It's something. Yeah, it's
Nippon. Nippon.
I would say that's fairly close, Chris. But just some international success going on in the 2021 All-Star game.
But yeah, I mean, a great game, of course, for Guerrero Jr. Also, Bogarts had a good game. He had 2 hits.
Yeah, I just really liked that Kevin Cash starting lineup that he rolled out there.
Well, and it struck early. Second and third inning, they got some runs in.
And I love the fact that Cash let Ohtani pitch for 1 inning, but then he yanked him real quick because Ohtani is having a MVP-like season, and I just hope and pray that he stays healthy in this second half, and he will end up being the American League MVP for sure. But I love that decision to just let him have his moment and his inning on the mound,
and his at bat,
and take him out of there.
Because he actually ended up having 2 at bats, but yeah, I'd hate to see his season get derailed because it's just he's having an amazing year.
And myself, as a huge Cub fan that I am, Chris Bryant had 2 opportunities to make it a one-run game or tie the ball game up. 2 opportunities with 2 outs. He struck out swinging the first chance he got. I believe it was a 3-2 count. And then, Chris, on a 3-0 count, he decides to green light himself and smacks the ball to left field, where the left fielder just made a great catch, I might add.
That was the defensive play of the game.
No doubt about it, to really save that game from very well being tied. Because if I remember correctly, Chris, the bases were loaded in the bottom half of that inning when Bryant stepped to the plate.
Yeah, if they weren't, I know that there was somebody on second and third for sure. I can't remember either, but yeah, it was.
So I'm sitting there watching Chris Bryant come up to bat, and it just doesn't get it done, and I'm like, well,
it almost feels indicative of the Cubs' season, unfortunately.
Yes, because as of right now, not only is their starting pitching struggling, but they can't seem to get anything going consistently from their lineup as well. And not a shocker to me, last night news comes out that the Cubs have traded their starting left fielder Jock Peterson to the Atlanta Braves for a minor league prospect.
Okay.
So if this is indeed selling time for the Chicago Cubs, it has begun as the trade deadline quickly approaches.
Well, and I mean, that wouldn't be surprising at all, unfortunately, if they start doing that in the coming weeks.
And it's also going to be really emotional for me if it does end up happening, with a lot of players being dealt out of Chicago, because that, of course, is the remaining core from that historical 2016 World Series championship team.
Right. And I've said this before, I know to you off podcast, I can't remember if I said it on the podcast, but when they won that World Series, I kind of expected a lot of those pieces to be there for a while and possibly win another World Series or two. So it's just unfortunate that it's not going to be the case.
It's not. Now, they did go to 3 straight.
Oh, they got close.
NLCSs.
Yeah.
But in 15, they were a young team. They weren't ready just yet, and they got swept by the Mets. In 16, they were ready, for sure. 2017, unfortunately, they played the same ball club that they beat in the previous NLCS, and the Los Angeles Dodgers, who were not ready in 16, but they knew what the Cubs were throwing at them in 17, and pretty much dominated that series 4-1. So, yeah, it's just that one magical year was 2016, and since then they've really hit some bumps in the road, and now it seems as if the remaining part of that core will be dealt either on or before the trade deadline. So I just wanted to touch on that, since we're talking some baseball here on this Friday afternoon.
Well, and another thing to touch on coming out of the All-Star game is the fact that the Yankees and Red Sox first game out of the All-Star game, got postponed because Yankees had 6 players test positive for COVID. I think it's the second time they've had issues with this, but the players this time, Aaron Judge, of course, the big name that tested positive, but also Gio Urshela, Kyle Higashioka. Then also
What's crazy about it is Judge started the All-Star game for the American League.
He was there. So hopefully no one else.
And I do remember him being walked and making that jog down to first base where he's next to Freddie Freeman. And of course he's taller than Freddie Freeman. I remember Freeman being mic'd, and Joe Buck is asking him, "Hey, you got this big fellow coming down the line," and Freddie Freeman was like, "Oh gosh."
Yeah.
I didn't want him coming over here because it's going to make me look short when I've been the tall one on my Atlanta Braves squad for years.
Yeah.
So Aaron Judge is just a giant, man.
Well, yeah, it looks like he'd be a football player.
My gosh.
But then there are also three relievers, Jonathan Loaisiga, or as the fans like to call him, Lasagna, because it's easier, Nestor Cortez Jr., and Wandy Peralta. So those were the six players. Ended up kind of postponing the game. They are going to play today, though. Saw that.
Thank goodness.
Which makes sense. If everybody else tests negative in the following days, just bring up, well, you mentioned this before the podcast.
Oh, yeah.
Minor leaguers and things to fill in the holes.
Exactly. That's another reason why you have a minor league system in place. Is you're already playing 162 games a season. You're going to have a multitude of injuries. And, of course, you're constantly bringing up players from your farm system whenever that does happen. So now you're dealing with this virus. Why not use it to your advantage in that way as well? And also, why not give these up and coming young stars quite possibly just a day in the sun? Just let them have their day in the sun, and if they break out, then you can say, hey, look, we've got somebody here on our hands that might could help us here in the future. We might be on to something here. And then when these guys get back from quarantine or whatever,
yeah,
then you have a decision to make on your hands whether you want to send them back down to the minors. Because let me tell you, Chris, that's actually happened to my Chicago Cubs. Now, I'm not talking COVID-related, but injury-related. And they've brought up these guys from AAA Iowa, Patrick Wisdom, who leads the Cubs in home runs, and he wasn't even on the opening day roster, Chris. They've also brought up a guy that has been a utility guy for them, or a platoonman, as I like to call it, in Sergio Alcantara, who is a infielder by trade, but you see David Ross plugging him in at second base, shortstop, third base, and some outfield slots as well. So,
well, that's the nice thing about baseball is
you have that in place.
Yeah, and I mean, the same thing has happened with the Yankees the past few years. I mean, they've had so many injuries. They've brought up prospects that ended up staying with the team or being good trading tools.
No doubt. Sanchez is from the Yankees farm system. Urshela is from the Yankees farm system. Yep. Judge is from the Yankees farm system.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, y'all took my boy Gleyber Torres in that trade.
Yeah, took that from y'all's farm system.
In the Chapman trade. So, yeah, he – and as we all know, everybody's got to start somewhere. But – and – my gosh, look at the Tampa Bay Rays and what they've done to their farm system.
They're just churning them out, man.
Exactly. That's pretty much everybody on their team is from their farm system, just about. Besides Glasnow, who they got in a trade with the Pirates in that Chris Archer trade, which was a phenomenal trade, by the way, and it ended up helping out Tampa Bay because nobody has even heard from Chris Archer these days.
Yeah.
He's not as dominant as he once was. And so Tampa Bay got a steal from that trade. And I believe they still have Mike Zunino, the former Florida great, at catcher. He started his career in the Seattle Mariners minor league system. So, I mean, of course, when injuries happen, you're going to have to bring those guys up. But why not do it the same way with COVID?
I mean, this is just an injury in a way.
And you know this. That's your team. They're already way behind here in the American League East. So why not get the future already established?
Yeah, it may not be the worst thing in the world to get the young guys a chance to play, and who knows, they might light a spark in this season.
And you guys might end up finally beating Boston this season.
That'd be nice.
And then and then the Tampa Bay Rays are like, thank you very much, because they're on our heel. They're nipping at our heels right now, which that'll be a fascinating finish between those two teams in the American League East.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess to put a button on this, the key is, of course, that you still got to make sure that it's not spreading amongst your team and then possibly to other teams. And it helps that the Yankees are one of the teams that have relaxed protocols because they're at least 85% vaccinated. I believe that's what the threshold is.
Okay.
So, and that, of course, theoretically means that even the players who do end up getting it, they should have a lighter, less serious case of it, especially since they're younger guys. So, hopefully they'll be back soon, and of course no one will have disastrous cases of it like that. Oh, I forgot his name, the Red Sox pitcher last year who he never even got to play because he had such lasting effects from the illness. But
now obviously it would suck if y'all were contenders.
Oh, yeah, I mean that'd be really unfortunate, but
since y'all are not, let these guys go ahead and have their day.
Yeah, and bring up the minor leaguers and make sure that no one else has it, that it's still not spreading. And sure, bring up the minor leaguers and let's see what they do.
Because like I've seen with the Cubs out of Wisdom and Alcantara, you might have somebody that you weren't even expecting, just like you said, give you a spark, show you something to where, okay, well, this guy is definitely going to be a part of our future going forward. So, yeah, you have the minor league system. Take advantage of it.
Oh yeah,
because that's what it's there for, and that's also what I love about Major League Baseball is you have those farm systems in place, and
take the situation and make the best out of it you can.
You and I, of course, are not Braves and Brewers fans, but that's all we have here in the state of Mississippi, and or Cardinal fans, with the Memphis Redbirds being
real close,
the AAA affiliate of the St. Louis Cardinals. But you and I have been to games in all three of those ballparks, and we've seen a lot of guys have come up through those minor league systems. So that's really always a joy to me to get to see the next generation of future stars in the league.
I kind of hate I was too young to really care to watch Albert Pujols when he was with the Redbirds in Memphis.
Yeah, he actually hit a walk-off home run to win the Pacific League championship.
Oh, okay.
Then, of course, St. Louis came calling right after that.
Yeah.
No brainer there, but
that worked out for him.
But that's just what I love about Major League Baseball, is that they have that minor league system intact, because you sure as heck don't have it in football and basketball. In basketball, you have a G League, but let me tell you, you're not seeing guys from the G League making NBA rosters.
No, and basically minor league.
It's very, very, very seldom these days.
Minor league for the NFL is basically just college.
Yes.
I mean, I know that the Canadian Football League exists or whatever, but it's basically just college.
or working out guys that have yet to be signed or they haven't played in a couple of years, and they're trying to give it another run,
like practice squad guys trying to come on.
Exactly, practice squad guys. Brandon Jacobs, for instance, he wants to return to the NFL now as a defensive end.
Huh. Okay, that would be interesting.
After he played great at running back for the Giants.
Yeah.
That Super Bowl run in 2007.
How old is he at this point, though? Jeez.
He's got to be at least 40, or dang near close to it, but
I got to check real quick.
But yeah, Chris, he is trying to make a comeback, but as a defensive end this go around, quite possibly. Which, I mean, my goodness, he always had the size.
Oh, yeah.
To play
Huge
defensive
dude.
end.
He's 39, so you called he's almost 40.
I thought so. I thought I had seen that right, but
I mean, he still looks like he's in pretty good shape and everything. So
no doubt,
maybe he'll get a chance. But yeah, so
and doesn't the second half start today?
The baseball?
Baseball, Major League Baseball. Doesn't the second half start today, if I'm not mistaken?
I think it technically maybe last night, but I guess everybody today. Maybe the Yankees and Red Sox were going to start a day early or something. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I know for sure today people are playing.
So yeah, how about that? Second half starts this weekend.
Let's see what the Yankees can do with some new faces, maybe.
Yeah, and so it should be gearing up to be a great second half. And, of course, we have the trade deadline going forward.
Yeah, we'll be talking about that coming up.
As I've already stated, trade broke down late last night between the Cubs and the Braves. And the Cubs are not done selling just yet. It's only begun, unfortunately, but that's just a part of the business of baseball, as these contenders are trying to gather assets to help them down the stretch in September, going into the playoffs in October. So there's a lot that's fixing to happen here going towards the end of this month of July and on all the way down through the end of September. So it should be a great second half, and I'm looking forward to it, Chris.
Okay, we're approaching the end here, but I want to do the random page of the day. Went to Basketball Reference. I got the Boston Celtics at the Dallas Mavericks from February 12th, 2009. Two really good teams here, especially the Celtics this season.
No doubt. Coming off of that NBA championship run in 2008.
Yeah, they were 44-11 at this point.
Woo!
Yeah,
but also not a shocker there.
No,
considering they were the defending NBA champion going into that season.
They ended up beating the Mavericks 99-92.
Okay,
and the Mavericks were 31-21, by the way, so no slouch. But Celtics were just great, of course.
Yeah, and the Mavs were 2 years away from winning their first NBA championship, so they were starting to build their championship.
Yeah, they were on their way up.
And so that's pretty neat there. You've got the defending NBA champion and then a team that 2 years later would win their first title as their championship core was starting to be built there in Dallas.
Yeah, it's sort of an interesting matchup in retrospect.
No doubt.
What was coming. MVP for the Celtics, Paul Pierce, no surprise.
Yeah.
31 points. But another great game, Rajon Rondo.
Rondo, that's now with the Los Angeles Clippers.
He had 19 points and 14 assists
That's
really
his,
good
that's
game.
his game though, Chris.
Yeah.
He is the ultimate facilitator, as I like to call him.
Which is just huge, of course, to have on your team.
He, no doubt about it, he shares the basketball. He gets the rest of his teammates going for sure.
Kevin Garnett,
KG,
16 points.
the big ticket.
Which he's surprisingly good in Uncut Gems, by the way, if you want to watch a really anxiety-inducing Adam Sandler movie, but it's a great film.
Something I still need to see, Chris.
Yeah, you should definitely watch it. It's Adam Sandler at his top form, acting-wise, and like I said, KG is great in it as well. Surprisingly, like you don't think of basketball players being the best actors, but he did a really good job.
I wonder if Big Perk, Kendrick Perkins, that is doing a lot of cameos on First Take every day and a lot of NBA analysis for ESPN. I wonder if he was still on that Celtic squad. Big Perk, Kendrick Perkins.
Let me see. I don't see him. No.
Okay, he probably didn't play, maybe.
But another good game to mention, Ray Allen, 20 points. That was just, what a squad.
Yeah.
What a squad for the Celtics, man.
And touching off of our last segment where we talked about how the Cubs only won one championship, it's a darn shame that Boston Celtics Big Three only won one championship.
Yeah, surprising.
Because they lost to LeBron's Cleveland Cavaliers in the 2009 Eastern Conference Final. And LeBron, of course, that's when he went to his first NBA Finals and was swept by the San Antonio Spurs. No shocker there with their Big Three.
Yeah.
And the great run that they had, the dynasty that they had. And then in 2010, it looked like they were going to beat the Lakers again to win that their second NBA championship under that Big Three. And Kobe Bryant, Ron Artest, Derek Fisher, Lamar Odom, Pau Gasol said, "Not so fast, my friend," and found a way to get it done. And so after that 2010 NBA Finals loss, they were never the same.
No.
And of course, they would go on to break up. Ray Allen goes to the Miami Heat where he hits that clutch Game 6 shot as the Miami Heat win 2 in a row. So Ray Allen wins another championship, but not with those Boston Celtics.
Right.
And so that's really crazy there because the Celtics played in the NBA Finals in 2010 and lost, and that was pretty much the end of their Big Three. And the Dallas Mavericks, the team that they beat in that contest, the following season won their first NBA championship. So it's there's a lot of irony there.
A lot of circles being closed here.
No doubt. No doubt.
And speaking of the Mavericks,
Dirk Nowitzki.
Yeah, I was about to say he had their best game by far, 37 points.
Yeah. One of my favorite players.
He had some help from Josh Howard with 17, Wright with 10, but their biggest issue here, man, Jason Kidd only had 3 points.
Wow.
And he played for 41 and a half minutes.
And how about this? He is now the head coach of the Dallas Mavericks.
Yeah.
Replacing Rick Carlisle, who is now back at Indiana with the Indiana Pacers.
Another circle coming full here. But he did have 10 assists, so I'll give him that, but still.
Yeah, that was also a major part of Jason Kidd's game was facilitator as well. So you've got...
I'm sure he was feeding Dirk.
No doubt about it. I mean, and why not? Because he's not only the face of your franchise, but he's the best player on the team.
Mm-hmm.
And NBA Hall of Famer, I might add. But obviously one of my favorite basketball players of all time, from me being a fan, and this is just a fan. This is not who I rank as the best or whatnot, but he and Shaquille O'Neal are my two favorites from a fan's perspective. They were my two favorites.
Yeah.
Every time they were in the postseason, I was cheering for whichever team that Shaq was on, of course, but also Dirk. And what talk about irony, Chris. Shaq and Dirk played each other in the 2006 NBA Final, where Dirk and the Mavs had a 2-0 lead, and the Heat won 4 straight to win the NBA championship.
Were you loving or hating that series because you had both guys in there?
Well, no doubt about it, Chris. It was very difficult to choose which one, but I pulled for Shaq a little bit more. I was more happy for Shaq in a way, because he had just come off that divorce from Kobe Bryant in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And you know that he wanted to prove it to Kobe that he could win a title without him. But Dwayne Wade, en route to his NBA Final MVP award, was outstanding the rest of that series. So Milwaukee Bucks, any of you guys listening, y'all win 2 in a row. Y'all can join that 06 Miami Heat squad that were down 2-0 and won 4 straight to win the NBA championship.
Came roaring back.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it.
Well, yeah, so just wanted to mention, again, basketball reference. This is February 12th, 2009. Celtics over the Mavericks, 99-92. All right, we'll move on to shout-outs real quick. What you got, J. Mike? I think you got some today.
I do, Chris. This came to my attention after Tuesday's podcast when we had already touched on MLB draft, and I did not have it with my other notable draftees, which I touched on the local guys here in the state of Mississippi, even though technically they're not from Mississippi, but they played for the top Mississippi universities here in the state.
Right.
But this is one that I most recently found out about, and it was former Northeast Mississippi Community College Tiger alumnus Tyler Samaniego. He was selected with the first pick of the 15th round of the MLB draft, which was 433rd overall by the Pittsburgh Pirates. Samaniego just completed his college career with the Sun Belt Conference champion, the South Alabama Jaguars.
Huh. Okay.
So congratulations to Tyler Samaniego on being selected by the Pittsburgh Pirates, getting to continue his playing career at the
professional level.
At the professional level.
Yeah. Okay.
Also, another interesting player came to light that I was not aware of out of that same MLB draft that I did not touch on Tuesday, and that was the son of Dusty Baker.
Oh, yeah. I saw
Darren Baker. And if you do not remember Darren Baker, go back to all the way back to the 2002 World Series game where JT Snow is rounding third, fixing to score, and Darren, a very, very, very young Darren Baker decides to run out to home plate. Thank goodness for JT Snow being aware that he was there.
Yeah, he snatched him up.
Exactly. He snatches him up by one hand. I mean, just from the neck, it about looked like from the collar, the collar of his jacket.
Mm-hmm.
It just snatches him up, because that was a big hit in that game for sure, because the bases were loaded, and not only was JT Snow going to score, but the guy from second was going to score as well. And so Snow made a heads up deal to get Darren Baker away.
And the last thing you need is a toddler at home plate as a play is about to go down with the catcher and the runner.
Because that's back whenever that you could have the collision with the catcher.
Oh yeah,
on the bang bang play at home.
Brutal plays, man.
So, yeah, credit JT Snow for getting Darren out of Dodge, or what would have been a awful scene there in the World Series. But he was drafted in the 10th round by the Washington Nationals. So Dusty Baker's son Darren will also continue his career at the professional level.
Okay.
And one more shout out I would like to do is to my all-time favorite Memphis Grizzly basketball player from a fan's perspective. Once again, he has a birthday today. The Z man himself, Zebo Zach Randolph. So happy birthday to Zebo Zach Randolph.
Happy birthday to you.
The former Memphis Grizzly great and my favorite Grizzly of all time. So happy birthday to Zebo today. On our anniversary show here.
Yeah.
Sport Fanatics. How about that?
Coincidental.
So that's all I've got.
All right.
Shout out wise, Chris.
Well, and I've got a quick one myself. NASCAR's silly season marches on. Had a lot of news yesterday. First of all, Austin Cindric is going to drive the number 2 car for Penske next year. Not a huge shocker, because we thought that Brad Keselowski was going to leave that ride, and that confirms it. It looks like Brad will be going pretty well. We're pretty confident he's going to be going to Roush Fenway Racing. He's going to be a part owner there. So it'll be an owner-driver type deal going. Another news that was a little bit less expected is that Harrison Burton is going to go to the Wood Brothers next year, which will push Matt DiBenedetto out of that ride. So not really sure where Matty D will be next year. Will he be in a top Xfinity ride or in a sort of mediocre Cup Series car, or maybe better? We'll see. But that was really the two big stories. Oh, we also heard that Hendrick has extended Kyle Larson's contract, which, I mean, no surprise. So
yeah.
What
a great way to keep him in the saddle.
Yeah, which, I mean, neither one of them wants to move anywhere at this point. So
yeah, because they're both having great success.
Right. So that's just sort of some updates in the NASCAR silly season. So congrats to those drivers who are moving up and getting new rides and exploring new times in their career. Well, that'll do us for episode 9 of the Sport Fanatics podcast. Thank you for joining us today. You can follow us on Twitter at Sport Fanatics, just like it's spelled on the title of the show. Where can they catch you, J. Mike?
You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter. Same handle, of course. It is at J_MikeCheck. And feel free to add me as a friend on Facebook. I want to thank all of our listeners that have tuned in to us for a month now. Chris and I cannot thank you enough for tuning in and being a part of our show. And we I know. Speaking of another shout out, I'm sorry, Chris, a late shout out here, but I want to shout out my longtime friend Tucker Stafford, who texted me earlier this morning and told me that he had been listening to the podcast, and he wanted me to tell you.
What up, Tuck? Glad you're listening, buddy.
He wanted me to tell you that he has enjoyed the show. He said that we're doing a good job. So I certainly do appreciate Tucker Stafford and all of our listeners as well that have tuned in to the Sport Fanatics podcast here.
Yeah, thank you guys. You listeners here in this first month, you can be the hipsters who, hopefully when the show continues to grow, hopefully we'll be here in the future, and y'all can be the hipsters that were here from the very beginning.
Oh, no doubt about it. And guys that have been listening to us from day one, if you ever have any topics that you would like for Chris and I to discuss and talk about, please feel free to let us know on these social media platforms, because there's some days where we're actually looking for content to talk about on the show. So once again, not only add us on social media, but please feel free to interact with us and tell us about how we're doing on the show, and if you really like it and have something that you would like for us to dive into, I'm all about it, and I'm sure Chris would be all about it as well.
Yeah. And again, thank you so much for listening, because J Mike and I have fun talking about sports either way.
And this is definitely something that we've always wanted to do.
Right.
So
it's a lot more fun with y'all listening in and enjoying the podcast. So we really appreciate everyone who's checked us out.
No doubt about it. But so where can they find you at, Chris?
Well, I'm Christopheles11 on Twitter, ChrisTopholes11. That's really the main and only social media I use, so you can catch me there. Thank y'all for listening today.
Yes, thank you guys so much for a great month now.
Yeah.
We are absolutely thrilled that you all have took times out of your busy days, I'm sure, to tune in, and we hope that we have given you some great insight on a multitude of topics and discussion, and we certainly hope that we have been able to have given you a really good break out of your daily lives and have put a smile on your faces, and we certainly look to continue doing so, as this train is just going to keep going. It's going to keep rolling, and it's not going to stop anytime soon.
As we move into the future.
That's right, because I certainly have enjoyed it. And once again, thank you, Chris, for always getting the show together.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for joining me.
With everything that you do. And as always, I'm just thrilled to be a part of this, and just thank all of you guys for listening to us as we keep this thing a-going.
Yeah, y'all have a great weekend, and we'll catch y'all again on Tuesday.
See you guys then, and have a great weekend.